Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the English Shooting live stream. Thank you very much for joining. For all you regulars, you know what the deal is. For anybody new, well, welcome and thanks for dropping on by. This is an opportunity to have a discussion about all the past week's shooting news and topics. There will be some ones that I've pre-selected in a way, and it is also open to any suggestions, any topics that you want to discuss, any bits of news that you think we should be talking about. And it's also an opportunity to have your voice and opinions heard. So please do use that chat box, get involved. I won't bite. I can't make it through the screen, unfortunately. If you want to come by Magload HQ, I'll happily bite you for a fee if you're into that. Whatever. Anyway, it's I can't say it's been a particularly busy couple of weeks news-wise. It's certainly been an incredibly busy couple of weeks personally, which I will be getting into in a little bit, as I'm sure you're all wondering where I've been. Mainly early mornings, late nights being the Magload elf, as I'm sure Daniel Smerald will get a little bit of a kick out of. Uh, but a topic and something that's been going on that I've been paying quite close attention to is around the story of a journalist and author having their firearm certificate revoked. But to preface it all, mental health and firearms and mental health issues and firearms ownership is a topic that I've covered many times on this channel. It's something that, being fortunate not to suffer from previously or currently myself, it's still a topic that I'm incredibly passionate about, because I see and hear of so many people just effectively being beaten by the current system that is in place, being beaten by the culture within some firearms licensing departments. And it doesn't take a genius. If you are in if you're in a bad place, if you are not mentally well, to whatever degree, severity, whatever flavor, if you want to call it that, um, the best thing for you to do every single time is to talk about it, is to seek help. That's what is told every single time. Go and seek help, go and talk about it. Things will get better. But as a firearms owner, there seems to be this constant valid fear that as soon as you talk to somebody, as soon as you open up about it, you're going to lose your guns. You're going to be looked through with a fine tooth comb. And not for one second am I saying, "Oh yes, we should just be laissez-faire and blasé about mental health and firearms." Yes, there needs to be a high level of vetting, and we need to make sure that people are not a danger to themselves and the public in owning firearms. But there does need to be a balance. And since I've been into shooting, since I got into this sport, into firearms ownership, the the balance is very much towards the punishment of having any mental health issues. Being a firearms owner here within the UK, it is a monumental uphill struggle. And again, it's not to say that it's an impossibility. I say all the time there are people on medication, there are people with diagnosed mental health issues, but every single case is different, and just because one person has it doesn't mean that they're necessarily a danger to themselves or others. So yes, it needs to be heavily monitored. It needs to be something that is discussed about. But I think in the current situation that we have with firearms licensing, it's actually going the other way. It's actually doing more damage than good. It's causing people to close up. It's causing people not to communicate, not to seek help, which around issues like mental health is a far more dangerous scenario. And sort of case in point is the story that popped up on Field Sports Channel TV on their news segment. Let me just bring it up for you guys. And it all centers around, I believe, it's the Shooting Times and Country Magazine journalist and also shooting author Matt Cross. And this all centers around this tweet. And yeah, there's people out there saying, yeah, a tweet like this is likely to raise concern. And I completely get that. You know, I would have absolutely no issue or objections with a firearms licensing department or an FEO, a firearm inquiry officer, seeing a post like this and going, okay, maybe we need to have a little chat, right? Let's just check, where he's been, where he is, and what the current situation is. And of course, we don't know the backstory. We don't know what has or maybe hasn't been declared to firearms licensing. Of course, if he's kept firearms licensing completely out of the blue, and this is the first time that they are hearing about one of their certificate holders having mental health issues, feeling down, feeling really anxious, that is going to cause concern. But overall, this post is very positive. It's in a way very inspiring. It's going to give solace to a lot of people out there that are maybe going through the same thing. And he says quite clearly he's in a good place. This shouldn't give a rise for concern about his current mental state. Maybe enough to go and have a chat. But what the firearms licensing do, they see this tweet and they go straight in. They revoke his, well, they, I don't think his certificates were revoked, but they seized his certificates, they seized his guns, and they went in there very, um, very hard. And what sort of example does that set to the rest of the community? What sort of example does that give to other people that may be, you know, deliberating whether to go and seek help? Those people that need to go and talk to somebody, but they see how firearms licensing react in this situation. And the positive update for this is that he has had his guns returned. Not only, but he has received a letter of apology from the police. So to me, that just points to the fact that the way this was dealt with was incorrect. The action that the police took and firearms licensing, by their own admission, was incorrect. But this is what we continuously see up and down the country, year in, year out. Somebody goes and does the right thing. They go and seek help, but then they end up in a much worse position. And to somebody, like Matt Cross, somebody who's, a professional shooter, working for a shooting publication, and ingrained within this community, it's not exactly going to do his mental health any good at all, ripping from him quite a significant part of his life. So I think the stress in terms of, well, not the stress, but the priority of things that need to change. Yes, we need to see more accountability. Yes, we need to see more regulation within our firearms licensing department, whether that's it going to a centralized office, whether that's having a regulatory body. That I think is fundamental for the shooting industry and shooters alike. But I think this whole issue around mental health and firearms ownership needs to be addressed, and there needs to be, I think, a much more rigid framework for the police to work by, but also license holders to work by. I'm aware of countless people that have jumped hurdles left, right, and center to go and seek help. Going through anonymous services. You know, you basically having to create these special arrangements with therapists where they're not giving them their real name. They're not able to fully disclose who they are and what they do, purely out of the fear that as soon as firearms and mental health is mentioned, the police are going to come running in. They're going to take away the guns, and it's going to make things 10 times worse. So I'm not for one second again saying that police shouldn't be cognizant of mental health issues and firearms owners with mental health issues, and they shouldn't be reactive or even proactive to the potential dangers that can cause. But for a specific case like this, going in there and taking somebody's guns is not the right course of action. And I think we need to see it change in law within the guidance that they're not allowed to, unless there is an imminent threat to themselves or somebody else. The first step should be going to talk to them. You know, this is obviously somebody that has struggled, and maybe to not the same severity, still struggling with something. It's completely insensitive to go in there the way they have. Fortunately, it's all been turned around pretty quickly. He's got the apology, and overall, not a lot of damage has been done. But you hear about it with just the stereotypical old farmer story where they say something to the wrong person, and they go in there and they take away their guns, and they're taking away their livelihoods, and they end up down in a downward spiral. There's many cases of it. So yeah, it's just a very interesting story, and for me it just highlights the inadequacies that we see within our firearms licensing departments, within our current legislation, within our guidance to really properly and correctly deal with issues like this. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about this. I'm sure everybody knows somebody, or certainly has a story of somebody that's been in a situation like this, and you probably will agree the further issues that it can cause. So what John Hewitt, my therapist is a motorcycle. Yes, shooting is therapy. It's used across the world. Shooting sports, target sports, it's used as a form of therapy. Again, there's a lot of good that can be achieved with people going out there and meditating on the range, for lack of a better phrase, and removing that, it's going to make things a lot worse for that person. And I think it is a sensitive topic. It's a complex topic. It is incredibly difficult to deal with, but it needs to be dealt with sensitively. And this post, it just, for me, it doesn't suggest for 1 second that he's likely to hurt himself or somebody else. And unless that's insinuated, and unless there's a probable cause for that, then it should be a conversation to begin with. Go round there and talk to the guy, and get a feel. If after talking you think actually this person isn't in a very good place, and he may do something to himself or somebody else, then take the appropriate action. But don't use it as the sort of first line of defense. And it's widespread, not just within mental health, but within firearms licensing in general, or a lot of firearms licensing departments. Just the lack of support, the inability to, in some cases, trust your firearms licensing department, to be able to actually have an adult conversation with them, to ask them difficult questions without the fear of sort of retaliation or a reaction from them. I've said it many times on this, on the channel before. I've asked them genuine questions, genuine, like, look, I'm not sure here. I don't want to go out there and break the law. What do you think? And their approach is, well, if you want an actual answer from me, an official answer, I'm going to say no. But I won't give you that answer. You can go and decide yourself. And it's like, well, it's not what you're saying is it's not actually a no, but you don't know the law well enough to actually give me a definitive yes. So your default is no. But where you're leaving me is either to push you further to get that no, or I've got to make the decision and potentially end up in court defending myself. It's like, you need more support, or we need more support from our firearms licensing departments to navigate the complexities of our law. And certainly when it gets to something so complex as mental health, you definitely need support. How powerful would it be that, imagine tomorrow this fear that I think, every firearms owner has, and every shooter has in the UK, about, talking to their firearms licensing department about mental health. Imagine if that was removed tomorrow, and instead of coming in and seizing your firearms, their first port of call is to, put you in touch with, a counselor, a therapist, for your FEO to come round and be like, what do you need to get better? Like, how much more of a powerful, positive response would that be versus coming in and ripping out somebody's, a part of somebody's life? So, this story does have a happy ending, which is, amazing to see. And yeah, again, it highlights the mistakes that the police have made in handling this situation. But just to clarify, because I never want to put anybody off needlessly, um, when applying for a firearm certificate. I'm all about trying to get as many people who are suitable, upstanding, members of society into this sport. But mental health mental health issues is widespread, right? There's many people, and a lot of people don't talk about it. A lot of people, you wouldn't know the majority of people that have either been through mental health issues or are suffering with. But it does exist within shooting sports, as it exists across any sport, across any industry, or sort of any area of our society. And having a mental health issue does not automatically exclude you from taking part in the sport, or even being able to go and get your certificates. The sliding scale of mental health issues is vast, and you can have a fairly benign issue that you're coping with, you're dealing with, you're working on, which never in a million years is going to make you a danger to yourself or anybody else. But those aren't the issues that the police are, or certainly should be concerned with. It's only when it's likely to truly affect you that is going to lead to the danger of yourself or somebody else. So yeah, it's incredibly hard, sometimes even on a case by case basis, to say, yes, you've got a very good chance, or no, that's probably going to switch them off straight away. But it can be done. The first step that I always recommend is going and speaking to your GP. I know that in itself these days can be quite a challenge, but try and go and have an appointment with them and talk to them. And as a medical professional, they should be able to give you a reasonable feel for whether they would be supportive of it, whether they could foresee, any issues that the police may raise raise on it. But don't automatically exclude yourself. The moment that you say, I'm not going to do it because I'm going to be refused, well, that's 100% chance of never getting a certificate. And yeah, if you're not in a good place, and actually maybe give another 6 months, a year, I'll be in a much better place, it might be better to wait till then. But if you feel you're in a good place, if you feel everything is under control, and you just want to go out there and enjoy what shooting sports has to offer, then go and talk to your FLD, go and talk to your GP, and start the ball rolling. It doesn't have to self exclude you. On the flip side, yeah, we don't, people that are really ill and are a genuine concern, we don't want them getting hold of firearms or having unsupervised access to firearms. So there are a number of, I think, justified, valid barriers put in place. The other aspect to it is, even if you may not be in a position at the moment to go and get your own certificate and own your own firearms, you can go and join a club, and actually, it sort of makes the whole FLD process a little bit meaningless and redundant, when when you have shooting clubs that the members there are going to get to know people far better than a firearms inquiry officer ever could. So, go to a club, talk to people, get involved, be open, be transparent about things, but throw yourself into the sport and demonstrate yourself within a supervised environment first, and that's going to pay dividends when you go and get your certificate. So don't go and automatically exclude yourself, but I think very much there's a lot for firearms licensing departments to do, a lot for the Home Office and police to do in general to support firearms owners with mental health issues, rather than making them effective victims and punishing them for something that is usually completely outside of their control. Let's have a look what you guys are saying. 3-inch Dick, always love seeing that name pop up. I never felt like I could talk about these things. Makes it seem he didn't even want to talk to friends / family about it. I doubt firearms licensing was in the loop. Yeah, you could look at it like that. And again, it is very important on the issue of applying for your certificate with mental health issues and getting involved with the sport. You do need to be open and honest, right? The moment you start lying, the moment you start withholding information from your firearms licensing department, that will come and bite you in the ass later on. I've known of a couple of people that they, genuine. I 100% believe them that it was a complete genuine mistake, that they didn't think it was relevant to the application because of issues years gone by. Police found out about it later down the line, and and in one particular case, they actually said to the guy, what you didn't tell us is nothing, right? It's what you didn't disclose, we're not concerned about. It would have never have been an issue then, and it's certainly not an issue now. The issue is the honesty. The issue here is now we have not concerns about your mental health, but we have concerns about your cooperation and your trustworthiness, and that is what ends up usually leading to your certificates being revoked, or certainly not approved. So never be tempted to withhold anything. And I've always said, put too much on there. The police will cipher through what is relevant and what is you maybe giving them a bit more, a bit of TMI. But it is far more hazardous to your application and your ability to own firearms and have a certificate to withhold information than it is to give them too much, because trust me, they will end up finding out, and it will end up being 10 times worse. But to be honest, actually, going back 3-inch Dick, if he had withheld stuff, he wouldn't have been handed his guns back. That would be the point that the police. So whether what he was talking about was required to be disclosed and therefore he didn't need to, so the police didn't know, that's maybe one aspect. Or if there was something that needed to be disclosed, they wouldn't be giving back his certificates if he had withheld something or had not told them about something that he was required to. So actually, I think that outcome is fairly unlikely. Cozzy, in 2023, you still have social media with your real name and open to the public. Is that directed at me? Because if it is, yeah. If you want a date, all you have to do is ask. Talking of dates, slight tangent. It's not really dates, but I did tell you all that I was getting majorly into bourbon, whiskey. I know it is technically whiskey, but bourbon is it's a different type of whiskey. So yeah, I've gone from, I'm just moving up in the world, right? I used to have my EnglishShooting beer review, and now I guess it's my EnglishShooting bourbon review. Don't worry, I still like the beer, but less calories in bourbon, so win-win. I am on the Buffalo Trace this evening. Yeah, I'm not too into the fancy stuff just yet. It's sort of a bit pigs and grapes at the moment. Let me know what your favorite sipper is, if you're an enjoyer of of bourbon or other whiskies. Joe Hall, not sure if you remember, but I messaged you on Facebook about my appeal, now postponed until next April, the 4th postponement, Jesus. And this is basically what they're doing to me, health anxiety. So yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, Joel. It's pretty indicative of what they do, unfortunately. But all the best with your appeal. Hopefully, they don't postpone it any further. I mean, at least you're getting official dates that are being officially postponed. I'm just still sat here waiting 3 years on. Like, again, work at a registered firearms dealer, listed under that RFD, have access to more guns that I can carry, but they're too scared to give me a firearms certificate. Yep, okay, logic. Mr. E30 is someone that has had depression since 2002 and on medication, also a firearms owner. One, have a good doctor that can speak on your behalf on your FAC. To be honest on the paper forms. Yeah, pretty much exactly. Thank you for confirming what I was saying wasn't complete and utter bollocks. A huge medical health obstacle that America is faced with and will not overcome in the nonsensical, hateful, dishonest rhetoric streaming from both our political parties. It's the current business model. That's the thing. Is something like mental health. It's just like any injury. If untreated, it will get worse. It needs to be, you need to sort of rush people into intensive mental health care in some situations. There's some things that really do need attention, and otherwise can, let's be honest about it, it can be as fatal as quite a major physical injury. Shooting is a hobby and pastime, same as fishing and golf. Joel, and you're right about it being therapeutic. It has helped me immensely. There are very few times now that I get to truly switch off from everything. To be that work, be that friends, family, and everything that's going on in your life. But it's why I'm so addicted to practical shooting in particular, because with clay shooting, for me, I have that moment of serenity, that moment of bliss when that target goes up, and that is all you're focused on. Like you really can't be focused on anything else. It's like when you hear that trap go, there's nothing else, and it's just this sort of very brief moment of like peace in a way. There's like no noise. I couldn't tell you what other noises are going around in that couple of seconds. What people may be saying behind. What I'm gonna have for dinner later on. Like, it's all these little inconsequential things. But even some of the big things. Are you worried about this? Are you worried about that? Well, when that clay goes up and all you were focused on is that clay, and you see it burst, you get that sort of just moment of bliss. With practical shooting, from the moment that buzzer goes to the moment you fire that last shot, it's the same feeling. So it's just, for me, it extends it. If you have a 30 or 40 second stage, for that 30 or 40 seconds, there is absolutely nothing else. It is only the target. It is only the stage. It is only the gun, and it is incredibly good for the mind and incredibly good for the soul in a way to escape, whether it be for 100 seconds worth of clays, or for a few minutes worth of stages at a practical match. It's good to just direct your focus onto something that isn't stressful, isn't life, and there's so many people that genuinely need shooting sports to be able to cope with life, to escape things, to not think about things, and it can be incredibly incredibly powerful. Mr. E30, if you need to talk to somebody, try and talk to a friend that is also a gun owner. Yes, everyone, you know, even again, though I've been fortunate that I've not never had any mental health issues, and I don't currently, and fingers crossed I never will. Um, but even not being in that, having to deal with that myself, or ever being anywhere near the situation of having that issue with firearms licensing, myself, just like with the majority of other firearms owners and shooters, are incredibly sympathetic to it. You know, they know what the situation is, they know what the pressures are, they know what firearms licensing is like. So yeah, they are going to be the best people to talk to. Um, and also, they're going to be a much better barometer. You know, in if you're going through that, those issues, it could go one of two ways, right? You could either be convincing yourself that everything is okay when it's not. Well, if it's not okay, then something needs to happen, right? You need an intervention. You need help, and it might not always be the help that you want or you think that you need, but usually it's the help that is required. So in those situations where you think everything's fine and dandy, but actually, yeah, everything's burning down around you, going speaking to a friend, they might be able to go, no, you need to do something, right? And then on the flip side, you might be thinking it's the end of the world, and your friend might be like, look, you know, it's not. Like, this is, you know, okay, you're here, you're here in this space at the moment, but you're still doing this, you're still functioning, you're still able to go out and enjoy yourself. You know, there's not an issue. So, you know, a shooting friend will be able to help you either way, in dealing with it. And again, loads of stories in my time within this industry and the sport and community of, you know, you hear about RFDs and other shooters taking friends' guns off of them. Like, look, if you don't let me take these guns, I'm going to be phoning the police, right? And in that time, they hate them, they despise them, they think they're the worst person in the world. But then later on, they see the reason, they see the logic behind it, and they go, yeah, that was it. Forced me to go and get the help that I needed. Des P, we have laws like this coming soon in Australia. It will make people scared to get help, be on the record with any mental health issues for fear of losing their firearms, which is completely the opposite to what you need and what you want. You know, and again, that only makes the things, you know, everything worse. I do have some hydration as well. It's not just spirit. Thomas Sayer, what do you think about somebody applying when they have sought help for mental health in the past? Will it be approved? Again, there's no certainties, but certainly a historical issue. Um, and the longer, or the larger the amount of time that has passed since seeking help and since struggling with mental health issues, the more likely it is going to be that you will get approved. But yeah, you don't get blacked mark. I think that's what I try to say to people all the time. It's not this, you know, black stamp on your file. They've had a mental health issue. They are never going to own a gun again. It's really not like that. Every case will be evaluated. It is not a blanket no. Just a thought, maybe the firearms department could set up a type of occupational health department. People can then freely go and speak to somebody with their issues and be properly diagnosed and medicated, or revoked. Yes, in an ideal world, that's what we want, right? We want the police to not just be observing it, but be a part of helping and all of that, you know, public service and all of that. But at the moment, with the current culture, that wouldn't work because people wouldn't was you know people are scared to go to independent therapists to seek help. They're never going to go into the belly of the beast to go and seek help. If they're worried about a therapist telling them and their license is getting revoked, going to somebody that actually works in the police, within firearms licensing, um, somebody that's a service that's set up by them, they're certainly not going to be willing to do that. So I think the culture and attitude of firearms licensing needs to change first. Victor, this has been designed to put people off renewing and applying for an FAC. Absolutely. There's so many things going on at the moment that it is just designed to stop us from shooting. It's designed to make it more encouraging to surrender your firearms, to give up your firearms, then continue it. I mean, I think even Hampshire were putting out letters. I think Connors showed me a letter that was sent to him, and it was sent to all. It was being sent out to all people due to renew their firearm certificate, and there was this whole spiel about surrendering your certificate and giving up your guns, and we will help you, and we will do this, and we will, we'll come to your door and carry them out on Persian rugs if that's what it takes, right? There was nothing really about incentivizing the renewal, right? It's like, oh, you need to renew. But have you considered surrendering? Because surrendering would be really, really good and positive for you in this way and positive for us in that way. And here's how you can surrender. And you can surrender here. You can surrender like this. You can surrender like that if you really want. And it's like, oh, hang on a minute. Like this is meant to be about renewing. Maybe the first thing you should be sending somebody to renew their certificates is information on how to renew their certificates, not how to not renew their certificates. And this bias is just ever present within our firearms licensing, and in a lot of our firearms licensing. And said it before, there's a lot of departments that I'm aware of that they're far more focused on removing certificates than actually giving them out. Mr. E30, is Pepsi in the bin? No, it's not. Pepsi's more of a daytime drink, not on the nighttime schedule. Bourbon in a stemless wine glass and not a lowball. Yes, I understand it is completely the wrong glass. I will be fixing that at some point. ES branded tumblers soon, or whatever they call them. There's isn't it called like a Glen? Oh, the proper glass is called like a Glencoe or something like that. Anyway, I will pick one up, but it holds the bourbon and I can drink from it. There we go. Can see something along the lines of the buddy system used in Scotland coming in. Well, funny enough, the story that sort of kickstarted all of this was all from Scotland. So maybe that's a vote against the the buddy system. But anyway, let's. I think we've talked long enough about all of that. But I appreciate all of your views, input, and I have just seen Alexander Dale. 14 months and no only ES fan content. Yeah, sorry. To be honest, there hasn't been a lot of English shooting content, to be completely honest. That is something I'm not going away, but as I mentioned, it has been incredibly busy for a multitude of reasons, but the main busyness has been actually, I'm sure, unless you've been living under a rock, is due to the day job. Of course, we Magload every year. We do our Black Friday. We've become renowned for it at this point. I think there's so many customers that genuinely don't buy from us any other time of the year apart from Black Friday, which is fine. But yeah, our Black Friday sale is on, and it is what helps the pills. So if you are looking for any premium, high level, used by world champion practical shooting accessories, upgrades, and other gadgets, then head over to magload.co.uk, because pretty much everything on the site is discounted up to a massive 50%. But it is just sort of like a no-go few weeks for myself and Connors. We don't tend to get much sleep or have much time for anything else. So once it's ended and once we've cleared the fairly considerable backlog, we will. I'll be getting more onto the channel. As you all know, I've got a brand new powerful whizzy Mac to edit videos on now that isn't waterlogged. So I've really got no excuse to not do videos. And I keep saying that I've got so many videos in edit lined up. It would be a shame not to get them out. And as we head into the crappiest weather of the year, people need something to sit down and watch in the evenings, and I've got quite a stockpile of stuff to do. So yeah, I mean, if you are, and I see a lot of people on the stream that I recognize from order slips or maybe usernames that I know the real name of. So don't challenge me too much. I know who you are. And we've seen your guys' orders come in. So if you have made use of the Magload Black Friday so far, thank you. And it's just a quick reminder, if you're looking for any practical gear and you want to get you want to get a deal on it, then head over to the site. But it really is just non-stop. There's a good week or two of solid preparation for it, getting media ready, stock ready, making sure the website's ready. Last year we had an absolute meltdown and the site nearly ground to a halt, so we weren't going to have that happen again this year. Unfortunately, it hasn't. And then literally from when we switched the deals on, it's like I've got a stack of orders on the packing bench, which is every time I try to get through it, go home, have a sleep, wake up, more orders, the pile's back up to it. I think it's something in the region of, we end up doing I think we get 3 months worth of orders, or 3 months of average orders throughout the year in the period of a week. And yeah, we end up drafting in help from all areas of friends and families and people with just able to help us out in any which way. It's it just gets pretty mental. But yeah, thanks everyone for who's supported and placed orders. And it's Magload is what allows me to do this and all the other things in the shooting world. So if you want to see more, then support Magload, because by supporting Magload, you're supporting the shooting, and you're supporting this channel. So there we go. There's my plug over. But that is the reason I haven't been able to do the streams over the last couple of weeks, just prepping for this. And yeah, last Thursday we went hard. I think Thursday has been our busiest day so far of the Black Friday sale. And like, what I get like when I get tired and I could barely say my own name. So I didn't think it was very appropriate to be doing a stream. So we will hopefully be back on the track. Something that I did want to ask all of you guys and just see what you'd feel. I really don't like the name vlog. I've tried vlogging on this channel before. I don't think calling it a vlog is necessarily the right thing, but it's the closest thing to it to describe it. But with spending a lot more time focusing on Magload and growing that and doing everything there, I spend a lot of time at the unit, and I don't there's a lot of time to sort of pitch up and set up for a video, clear a space, get all the tables out, get the lighting out, get the gun, do a few takes, the research beforehand and all of that. And actually, I think some of the most enjoyable videos that I've ever made has been there's one on the channel which is I think it's mag loading a 1522. It doesn't specifically have to be about mag load, but that video I literally plonked the camera down and went. So I'm thinking of maybe mixing things up and trying something new, and just literally plonking the camera at times in the unit, in the office. You know, maybe there's a bit of news that we're chatting about in the unit, and I think capturing it would be interesting for you guys. Or, you know, we have guns coming in left, right, and center, and you know, it just gets harder and harder to find the time to sit down with that gun and make a full sort of polished video. But picking it up and having a quick chat about it, you know, in and amongst other goings on, you know, at Magload and elsewhere, I think could be very interesting. So if you'd be interested in that, if you want to see maybe a bit more, let's say, behind the scenes, I'd be more than, I've been thinking about doing it. So encourage me either way. I think, yeah, the quality, the content quality wouldn't be like a full polished video. It wouldn't be, none of my videos are really staged or scripted, but it wouldn't be constructed in a way, or not even constructed. It wouldn't. It would be natural. It'd just literally be like, you know, more like the live streams, I guess, which is all you seem to get. So if you're tuning in for the live stream, you're probably like that. But anyway, let me know if that would be of interest, because there's so many things. I mean, we've, like, the other day we got a so we haven't there's been a lot that's gone on with it. Like this, I think it was when we were out in Greece. We got an order. I'm not sure if I'm gonna name and shame, but we got an order from a pretty significantly high profile shooter, and obviously we're really excited about that. And we ended up buying in a gun specifically to you know, just confirm that the all the bits were going to work on their gun, and was going to be up to the job. So we ended up buying in a gun for that. I was going to go and say what gun it was, but as soon as I say what gun it is, it just sort of says who it is, and I don't really want to. Yeah, maybe if we see them actually out in the wild using our stuff, then we'll talk about it a little bit more. But I don't want to sit here and go, oh, so and so's running our gear, and find out that, you know, they're not, you know. So don't count your chickens and all of that. But it would have been amazing to document it. You know, order coming in, us chatting about it, getting this gun in, prepping, you know, making sure things were the right length and dimension for what they needed, you know, all of that, you know, regardless of who it is, that could be quite interesting. And there's so many little things that, you know, go on. Connor's tinkering on guns, fixing guns, which I'm sure you guys would love to see. So anyway, I've been thinking about doing that. I'm sure Connors would love the idea of having more cameras and more filming about the place. ES Unloaded. Oh, I like that. I hope that's not copyrighted, and no, you will not be getting royalties. Vlog the 2.2 mag process. Yeah, that's sort of shutting the gate after the horse is bolted. Like 99% of everything's sort of done with the magazine. But yeah, that is a perfect example, and in hindsight, we probably should have vlogged that a little bit more. Yeah, it's there's still more to do. So yeah, maybe we start now. Maybe the next update is, well, we've actually got an update coming out very, very soon, which reminds me, because I was going to talk to you guys about it, because I know there's a number of you that ask about the magazines and are patiently waiting with your pre-orders. So we'll chat about that in a bit. But yeah, maybe instead of doing like the email updates or post updates, we can just get a video and show you. Actually, it would be a lot easier to show you the issues that we've been experiencing versus, you know, trying and describing it, or just say, oh look, we're having problems. So, okay, well, what problems? But yes, magazine update. Oh, everyone's um, huh, yes, part of also a very busy couple of weeks. The long and the short of it, not that, I am a professional engineer, of course. I'm a professional. I'm not going to go out there and just needlessly bash another company. But basically, I'm sure, as you all know, the process, the manufacturing process of the magazines have been continuously delayed, right? And we were under the genuine belief that it was design, right? We had never designed a magazine before, or Connors had never designed a magazine before. We'd used injection molding with Element, but the Nexus Element loader in terms of complexity is so far below that of a functioning magazine, and certainly a functioning magazine that has to work in a variety of different guns with a variety of different setups and ammunitions and so on and so forth. So I think there was quite a bit of humility on our part, of thinking, yeah, it's the design. We need to tweak this. We need to tweak that. So the general process with who we were using, there's a hint about the update of the magazines, is design something, test it to an inch of his life, go right, make this now, right? They would make it in injection molded. They would machine the tool, um, make it, give it to us, and there'd be issues, right? And then we just went through this cycle. I think they've now made in total 3 different injection molding tools, and each one of those tools has had a handful of modifications and changes. And if anybody knows anything about injection molding tools, you'll know that once you've played around with it quite a bit, like you just need to start again. And every single time it's like it's the design. We need to tweak this, we need to tweak that. And then we sort of finally sat down with them, at the last point, and they were like, look, these are the tolerances that we need to be able to make the magazine. Connors went away, gave them exactly what they needed, um, sent them the design to their, not their specification, but to what they need, in terms of tolerance that they say they can make. And they threw it back and said, no, we need to try change this, and this. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, you change this, and this, it's not a functioning magazine anymore. It might as well just be a blob of plastic. um and for me, that was the final straw. And it's like, right, let's look elsewhere now that we've played enough fun and games with this company. I think we finally twigged that it wasn't the design, it was just maybe the capabilities and experience of the people that we were working with. And ultimately that's our fault. We maybe should have had more, we should have done more research. We should have maybe been more aware of the landscape of injection molders within the UK. But fortunately, from my previous work, there is an injection molders based, um, not too far away from us, in the Winchester area, who make parts for Jaguar Land Rover. For, I can never remember the name, but they're cricket helmets. And I know that's a weird comparison, but anyway, they're a big company. They have big clients in the automotive, aerospace, and MOD, um, sort of industries. They've been going for decades, right? And sat down with them, told them all of the issues, showed them all of the issues, what we were getting, and it literally took them 30 seconds to say how the previous company has been trying to do this is just all asked about face. No wonder you haven't been getting anything that's working. They're not using the right material. They're not making the molds out of the right material. They're never going to be able to hold the tolerances that you need. It was always doomed to fail, which was sort of sobering. So yeah, trying to not waffle too much, we made the pretty big decision to move the manufacturing to a different injection molder, which has come at a significant cost. You know, part of, I guess, the appeal of the previous place was the initial upfront cost and the amortization over the cost of the parts. This is, yeah, proper big boy. Like, we want a chunk of money to even start tooling. However, the plus of that is that, you know, they're not messing about, right? They are. It's like, if we tell you, you know, 8 weeks, it will be 8 weeks. I can't remember if they said 6 weeks or 8 weeks, but anyway, the design is with them. There were some improvements that can be made to the design from their experience. Those changes have been made. The design is with them. It's going through flow analysis at the moment, and they've said, you know, they've got the money. There's literally no hold up. As soon as they've confirmed the flow analysis, as soon as they've verified that the design is fit for their processes, they will hit the button, and it will be either 6 or 8 weeks from that point. So we're literally days away from them saying we're going for it. So overall, the update is, yes, it's going to be another 6-8 weeks with this injection molders. They are just like, they're just superstars, right? They're like almost clairvoyant when it comes to injection molding. You can hand them apart, and it's almost like, yeah, I can tell you that's 20% glass filled, or, you know, whatever. It's incredible what these guys can do. Just, you know, back when we started this process, we just didn't. I just don't. Maybe we didn't have the confidence. Maybe it was just, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to go to somewhere like this. But the old adage, you get what you pay for, and at the moment, we are certainly getting what we have paid for. And yeah, hindsight's 2020, but we wish we had gone with them to begin with. But this is all part of the learning experience. It's all part of, you know, running a business and making products and all of that. You're never going to get it right 100% of the time. And, you know, something that I can hand on heart say to everyone that's been waiting is that at every single point we have done absolutely everything to progress it, to get it better. And when we've you know, and I'll be honest, we had the conversation of, look, the guys we're using can't do it. The people that can do it, it's sort of very, you know, you're talking like deposit on a house sort of money, right? And the conversation came up, you know, do we end up scrapping this project? Do we end up refunding all the pre-orders and moving on? And no, like, we are far too into this now. We've made far too many promises, and those promises are going to be they're going to be kept. So we're sort of putting our money where our mouth is when quite a significant hurdle has come down in front of us. Yeah, we've not run off. We've done everything possible to get them going. So yeah, I think it's 8 weeks. So it's going to be after Christmas that that we get the magazines. We're going to need to test them. We're going to need to assemble them. But if keen-eyed amongst you, if you've been on the website, it's now, so we've closed pre-orders. We probably should have closed them ages ago, but we always thought we were only a few weeks away or a couple of months away. So you can't pre-order them now. We never wanted to pre-order them, but so many people tried to twist our arm into, oh, I want to be first in the queue, I want to be able to pre-order. Okay, we're opening them up for pre-order. So we've closed the pre-orders because we don't want anybody else having to wait any more time. And a consequence of having to go somewhere else and pay a lot more money is, you know, the price of them has gone up. So if you are one of the people that have pre-ordered, you will be getting an effective discount, but that's the very least we can do. And also there will be a couple of, well, one unique gift and one very cool gift, a couple of little things that anybody that's pre-ordered with us will get. As again, we can't thank everybody enough for their patience with this process, but we are getting there. So at the moment on the website, I think it says February. That is what we are currently aiming for delivery. Any changes to that, we guys will let you know. Fortunately, this new mold is only like 45 minutes up the road from us. We can go there and have, you know, update meetings a lot more feasibly. Previously, it was like a 3.5 hour drive to the guys that we were using, so it made it quite hard to go and see them regularly. But you know, we will literally we'll go there every week if we need to, just to ensure that everything is moving. So there we go. There's the magazine update. And yeah, maybe now that we're with a company that actually seems to be semi-competent, documenting it, filming it, putting it out there, won't be necessarily a bad thing. But yes, it's all fun and games. Oh, and I see my my number one fan has joined in. Hello, hello, mum. Um, thank you for joining in. You're as welcome as anybody else. And if anybody wants a challenge, you can take on my mum. Yeah, it will be hilarious for us. Uh, Daniel, did I miss anything? Yeah, pretty much half the stream. You know, you can come here waving all your mod flags. Where were you an hour ago when the stream started? I mean, it could have all kicked off by now. Fell asleep when I got home. I woke up not long ago and saw the Shirt King was streaming. Shirt King, short, snort. It's whiskey, all right? It's nothing harder. All this chat about magazine, and I just came to the realization that he is on about a magazine for a rifle and not a printed magazine. Well, at the moment, we've got lots of printed magazines. That is what we are using to prototype things and move forward. And actually, as I've got the Magload website up, yes, for anyone tuning in, there is a Black Friday sale currently on magload.co.uk, up to 50%. There you go. There's my plug. It pays the bills. Sue me. It wouldn't be that funny if the website currently doesn't work. That would be pretty bad, wouldn't it? Look at all these goodies that are on sale. Go now. There we go. Here's the magazines. You can see it's most definitely not on sale. And please ignore that, because our website has a it has a like basically a VAT detector. If it detects that you're in the UK, it will show you the prices inclusive of VAT. And if you're outside of the UK where you don't have to pay VAT, it shows them exclusive. Apparently our website isn't the smartest, because I can assure you I'm most definitely currently sat in the UK, but it loves to show me the ex-VAT prices, which is always fun and games. But yes, this is for anybody going, what magazine? This is the magazine. What you can actually see there, don't know if anyone's realized, but that the magazines in the photos are that one. Yes, this one is injection molded. So this is one of the various bundles of scrap that the injection molders have sent us. But it's things like I'll go into a little bit of detail, right? You probably, I mean, I didn't notice until it was pointed out to us, but you can see this sort of discoloration on the surface, right? That's all due to the flow of the plastic when it is at high pressure forced into the mold, right? And having these sort of hot and cold spots is just bad mold design. It's bad. You know, the design of the magazine isn't causing that. It's how it's being manufactured. And this was one of the instant things that the new injection molders picked up. Is like that the face should be uniform, right? And it's things like, you know, here you can see where it's so that what is the gate point. So this is where in the mold the plastic is squirted, right? And we pleaded with them, please don't put it on the outer face, put it on the inner face, put it like pretty much anywhere you want, but don't put it on the outside of the magazine, because then you end up with this, right? And they're like, no, it's easier for us, this is what we're used to. It was like, you just don't get it. The new guys, they're putting it in a place where you will never notice. And also, not to get into like the physics and science of injection molding, but you know, the feed lips, right? The most critical part of the magazine is the feed lips, right? Those are what has to be like bang on tolerance, perfect, because you get any issues with the feed lips, the magazines won't work, right? Having the gate down here means that it's quite a long distance for the plastic to be forced into the mold to fill, and to then properly fill consistently the feed lip area, right? Which means that you're going to get more issues, more inconsistencies, more, sort of tolerance issues up in the feed lips, because it's so far away from the gate. The new guy recognized instantly, right? That is your critical area, so we're going to put the gate there. Like, simple as. And it's these things that not only, I think, does he have decades more experience in just injection molding um, in to start with, right? But he actually understands what we're trying to do. Like, it's just almost like the other guys didn't really understand what a magazine was, and how critical it was. And the new guys, they get it. So this is one of the old injection molding ones. The new one should be a lot better. There are a lot of design changes, but it will roughly be that. But previously, so this is one of the ways that we've been testing it. This is actually SLS printed. And you can imagine our pain that I've literally lost count of how many SLS magazines that we have made in prototyping, right? They cost £150 each, right? Just let that sink in for a moment. Every time we send one of these to get printed in SLS, 150 quid, and I have literally lost count of how many we've got. Again, we haven't scrimped, we haven't, tried to shy away from investing in this. It's just, we've just been fighting an uphill battle basically the whole time. So yeah, in terms of actually 3D printing magazines, you can. Connors has actually run some of the 3D printed mags in competitions, and it ended up leading us to getting a new FDM printer, which is phenomenal. And he's gone out there and he's actually tempted to run FDM mags. There's a competition at Froome this weekend. He's tempted to run them there, and there's no reason they're not going to stand up to the same sort of force and punishment as an injection molded mag. I mean, the injection molded ones, sorry, the SLS ones, we were throwing off flights of stairs, no problem at all. The design is absolutely rock solid. An FDM one probably wouldn't stand up to that sort of that same sort of punishment. Daniel, can you print my mag order in pink? Yes, for 150 quid a pop. Well, actually, we need a little bit of margin, and then there's the colouring fee and all of that. So you're probably, and that. So that's 150 quid per magazine, ex VAT, right? Because we're VAT registered, we can claim the VAT back. So we speak in ex VAT. 150 quid each ex VAT. So yeah, if we were to actually sell an SLS magazine for any sort of margin, and be able to sell it to dealers and have a trade price as well, you'd probably be looking probably 250, 300 quid. So yeah, that's why we're not SLS printing them. That's just not feasible. Nobody's going to buy a £300 magazine, unless you shoot in open, and then whatever. Well, I mean, open shotgun. Blue cheeses like Stilton are injection molded too, so to speak. Yeah, but it doesn't really matter if you get like a blue cavity in it. It's funny, we were talking about this in the club last week. There were 7 of us there, and every single one of us has some sort of mental health condition, suffered some sort of mental health condition some point. It should never be. No, absolutely. And as we've been saying all stream, we need more support from our firearms licensing. We need to feel less attacked from firearms licensing when firearms owners suffer with any sort of mental health issue. Ross Holden, Does anyone know of my chances of getting an SGC if I have had 2 different cases of anxiety when I was 13, now 18? I would say your chances are very good, Ross. Again, don't take my words as gospel here. Every case is different. I don't know you. I don't know the ins and outs of what you went through, the severity of it, and the circumstances of it. However, you're breaking it down. Anxiety isn't usually one of the ones that they're so concerned about. Um, you've also had 5 years, a 5-year gap. A 5-year gap is an incredibly long time, and a lot of things can be undone. Let's not forget that on a completely different sort of note. There are people that have served custodial sentences and being able to get their licenses back within 5 years, right? So having a couple of cases of anxiety 5 years ago, and at the age of 13, at the age of 13, you're still a child, right? There's a lot going on. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of learning and development within that period. Things are going to happen, right? And you're probably, or most people are very different to how they are at 18 than they are at 13. So they're effectively going to be presented with almost a completely different person to that 13-year-old, right? So I would say, based on all of that, that's probably the way that they're going to look at it, as long as there's been no sort of recent issues, as long as all of that anxiety was resolved and you can demonstrate that you worked on it, that you got better, then there's absolutely no reason that they wouldn't be able to give you your certificates. And Gabriel, I think that's it. That's one of the things that I have missed. So thank you for pointing out no stigma. And there's a lot of stigma around mental health issues to begin with, and we don't need that stigma with mental health issues to begin with, but certainly with firearms licensing and firearms owner. Like, look, we know the dangers. It doesn't take a genius to know the dangers about somebody that is suffering severely from mental health issues and being in control of a firearm, right? That needs to be addressed. But tarring everybody with the same brush, just the sheer mention of a mental health issue and having no sympathy to the potential severities, where they are in that, that's the stigma that we need to remove. Changing the subject completely, and I found this absolutely amazing. I'm sure you've all heard of, is it the expression is booze cruise, right? Where people go off to France to stock up on cheap non-taxed beer or very low tax beer and wine. Well, and the same goes for tobacco, and that's something that I've been looking at quite a lot recently with cigars, because they are incredibly cheap out in Europe, very expensive over here. And thank you, Rishi, for increasing that with the new rates. Yeah, that's exactly what we needed. Like yeah, I get it, right? The whole thing around cigarettes, you add a few pence to the cost of a cigarette, that's going to add up, right? If you're buying a 20 or 30 pound cigar, is it going to matter that it's £1 or £2 more? Right? It makes absolutely no difference. If there are people that will go and spend thousands of pounds on boxes of cigars. If it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 or 1,100, it's not like, why are cigars taxed into oblivion? Yeah, the at school, you always had the groups of kids that would, be smoking around the bike sheds, right? I don't think I ever saw anybody with a cigar. Like, so why punish the cigar smokers, especially as I'm just getting into it? Bastards! I always get into things in the wrong time. They're going to start, like, banning bourbon soon. Like, just wait for it. Get into something. Anyway, where was I? France. Cheap booze, cheap cigarettes, cheap. I'm not going to go there. Ooh, that was close. But now you might want to go on An ammo cruise. French tobacs to sell ammunition for hunting. It seems so insane that it's unbelievable. No, actually, it makes a lot of sense. So, talking about these booze cruises and all of that, right? Um, the tobacco shops are where you go, and it's sort of in the name, and they're tobacco shops, but they're usually, either around um, places with alcohol or they have alcohol in them as well to buy. So these are the places that people will drive across the border and go on the channel and go and pick up your year supply of baccy and cigarettes and booze and all of that, right? But the French have decided to change the law to allow them to sell hunting ammunition, including shotgun shells and smooth bore cartridges, will be available for purchase in some tobacs from next year. We look at how this will work and how people have reacted to the measure. So I'm not too familiar with the laws out in France when it comes to firearms and ammunition, but basically shotgun ammunition is a category C ammunition, which at present is only sold by specialist armorers, will soon join cigarettes and scratch cards behind the counter of many tobacs in France, according to a change in the rules announced on November the 25th by the Interior Ministry. Now, the reason this makes a whole load of sense is that if you're dealing in the world of tobacco and scratch cards and alcohol, right? It's already a regulated. You've already got to check for ID. You've got to check the person and make sure that they are you know legally able to purchase what you are selling. They're usually quite secure places, and the security is it's not just secure physically in terms of the merchandise being behind screens or well secured, but security is usually pretty high at these places. Is usually a large volume of money, large volume of people going through them. So actually, that sort of makes it the perfect place to be selling ammunition. And obviously, it's synonymous with shooting that they also like their tobacco and they like their scratch cards apparently. So putting the ammunition, it just like this is just I think so positive in so many different ways because it makes it more mainstream, right? Like, don't get me wrong, it's not difficult. I don't know how it is in France, but let's just look at it here in the UK. It's not difficult to go somewhere at the moment and buy shotgun cartridges. There are a handful of different gun shops within half an hour of where I live, where I could go and buy a range of shotgun cartridges and other ammunition. But it would be a hell of a lot more convenient if it was at your local co-op, if it was at your local what's the wine shop, Majestic, is it Majestic or whatever, you know what I mean, an off license or something like that. It was around the corner, and not only would it be more convenient for people actually in the sport and taking part in shooting sports, but it makes it more publicly prominent, right? I guess this is actually the issue that we're seeing with the likes of cigarettes is that they are everywhere, and that's why they've started putting them behind um, counters in the UK, and there's no labels on them and all that. They're trying to make them blend into the background as much as possible, but you still know they're there. You still see people walking out with baccy and all of that. It's still very much part of the shopping experience. Any supermarket is going to have a tobacco counter. Any convenience store is going to have tobacco there. So imagine how powerful it would be just to have normal members of the public walking into their local off license, walking into their local convenience store and seeing shotgun cartridges. Now, I'm sure to a lot of people in the UK, it's going to be, oh my God, like what, how strange, how odd. They probably won't be able to possibly fathom why somebody would want to be able to buy shotgun cartridges round the corner from them. But it will get them thinking. It will get them like well, hang on a minute, perhaps there is a genuine, legitimate reason for this. Well, why is there a genuine, legitimate reason? Oh, yes, there's this whole sport. Actually, that looks really good. And just something so small like this can have quite a massive, positive, wide-reaching benefit for the sport and growth of participation. So, fair dues to the French. This be very interesting to see how it pans out, and maybe I'll go over to France, get some cheap cigars, and do a little video on buying some uh, buying some cartridges out in France, and seeing what the whole situation is when it gets rolled in. And it makes it even more sort of insane with this whole thing about the lead ban here in the UK. We seem to be approaching a complete ban of lead faster than anybody else, even faster than the EU at the moment. I wonder how many people are going to end up making regular trips out to France to a tobacco. No, no, no. I'm just stocking up on tobacco and booze. What are these shotgun cartridges? Oh, I've had them in the back of my car for ages. Don't you worry about them. Why is the box in French? Oui, oui. It's just Anyway, and people are talking about cigars. What? Or Daniel is. Oh, Joel. Have to admit, I've had very few NC cigars. How? I guess you mean Nicaraguan or New World? Oh, there's a whole bloody conversation going on here. Why are cigars taxed? The answer: politicians aren't expert in every single field, yet they make laws that affect every single field. Yep. Cartridges at Bargain Booze. Sign me up. Yeah, sign me up too. Joel, I can highly recommend going and visiting Eddie and Edward, the Sahakians in Davidoff of London. Fantastic shop. I went there for my birthday, just gone. Went to Davidoff, and of course, around the corner, you also have JJ Fox, and you also have C Gars around the corner as well. Literally, like within like 200 yards of each other, like the three like big players in London with cigars. If literally, if you can't find it in any of those shops, it doesn't exist. So yeah, go non-Cuban. So yeah, New World, New World cigars. But yeah, 100% go to Davidoff for London, and I did have the pleasure of meeting Edward Sahakian. So he was one of the guys that served me while I was there, and it is a little bit like, I don't know, I've seen you in videos. Yeah, if everybody's switched off at that point, don't know what the hell we're talking about, just go and search Davidoff of London in YouTube, and you'll know very, very soon. Oh, Joel. Oh yes. Why has this not been theorized previously? We'll all have to meet up for a smoke now. The English Shooting Cigar Meetup. Like, I wouldn't even care if no one turned up. I'll just sit there and have a cigar. Like, English Shooting. Like, the thing is, you could, like, I don't know, getting everyone to go into London, probably a bit of a pain. But there are a few places already in mind that you could do it. So maybe we could do that. Yes, sounds like a great idea. I'm in London tomorrow for a meeting. Oh, you able to go down to Davidoff and pick me something up, Daniel? Sign me up. Yeah, I knew you'd be into it. The thing is, we could do it at like a number of the ranges. I'm sure I could ask Brian, after the Welsh or whatever, say, look, can we have a little gathering up on the range? Anyway, something to think about. In terms of we're talking about lead ammunition and potentially making trips out to France to get some in the not too distant future. What is going on with my screen? The lead consultation, just a really quick reminder, guys, to go, if you haven't already, go and fill this out. I've harked on about it. You have until the 10th of December. So we've got um, one more live stream for me to bang my drum about it, but go and do it now. Um, there is the link. So make sure you go there and you fill it out. I have to say, I have to give a big shout out to both Richard Clifton, the regional director of the UK PSA, and also Arian Alipur, who's our, you've seen him on the channel. He's helped out with the channel, the media officer, who have been working tirelessly on the UK PSA's response. If you need any help or guidance with responding to this lead consultation, because you don't want to really think that too much about it, then here is a link to the UK PSA guide if you want to come at it from a practical stance anyway. But yeah, the work that Richard and Aaron have put into this is immense. And yeah, we really do need to get more people engaged and responding. This is the future of our sport. But something that's come out of it, which was specifically for the lead consultation, is there was a survey that went around the UK PSA, which actually, relative to the number of people that responded to the previous consultation, was a pretty good turnout. And there is all this absolutely incredible data that has come from the survey. So the UK PSA has a membership of roughly 1,400. So to get nearly 1,100 responses, it's 62%. So you can safely say, what does that work out to? About roughly about half of our members actually responded to this. So to have a 50% take up of a survey from your membership is that's pretty good going. But I really do want to go through this and pick some things out, not just on the subject of lead or even the subject of the UK PSA, but there's some really interesting data to sort of extract from this. And one of the things, and something that I think we really need to bang the drum a lot more, is this, and it doesn't actually say, it wasn't geared at practical shooting, although it would be probably heavily a practical shooting audience. 95.6% of people that completed this survey said that shooting is their principal sporting activity. Right. So for, in terms of getting out there and being active, you stop shooting, you're actually, and Richard did an incredible job of basically going through all the figures. I think it's included somewhere, but I'm not going to spend all evening going in. I will go and break it down at a later date. Oh, here we go. If the opportunity to shoot was diminished, would you be less active as a person? 95.3% said yes. And you've got to think, the heart disease and obesity and all of these things that cost the NHS and therefore the government and therefore the taxpayer hundreds of millions of pounds of year, and a lot of the time, just more exercise is needed, right? Well, these are the social economic issues of making shooting even harder to do. Tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people up and down the UK would lose their primary form of activity. They would be less active as a person. What negative health connotations is that going to have in the long run? So people aren't eating meat with a little bit of lead in, which doesn't seem to deter or hinder the 90-year-old gamekeepers out there that have been eating game meat shot with lead for the whole of their lives. So you remove that risk, right? But then suddenly people become couch potatoes. They're not exercising and almost, and also they're not socializing. Does shooting sports provide you with an opportunity to socialize with friends and family? 98.4%, yes. So for hundreds of thousands of people up and down the country, right, shooting is pretty much the only reason they go out and be active, and it provides with quite a significant opportunity to be social. Social interaction and physical activities, bringing it back, weirdly, this was not planned, but bringing it right back onto the main theme of the stream. Social interaction, activity, being, socially healthy, being physically healthy, are some of the major contributors to a positive, healthy, um, mental aspect of everybody, right? You want a positive, you want to be mentally healthy, socializing, being with friends and family, going out there, getting active, doing something just to distract your mind. What we've been saying all stream. It's incredibly powerful, and these are the things that are so often overlooked. And when you start to throw stuff like this in, and this is why I just commend the work that Richard has done on this. When you start making arguments like this, it's like they can barely make the argument that, you know shooting lead is bad, right? We all know lead is bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here licking a block of the stuff. But is shooting some into a field really going to destroy the environment? They haven't been able to definitively show that. Like, certainly when it gets into the argument of, what does steel do when you expose it to water and air, right? What do all the other materials do when you throw it across the countryside? So, the evidence there is um not hugely strong. And when you start to get stuff like this is like tangible responses, tangible data. um when you get stuff like this, like the negative connotations of, or even just saying you can't use lead ammunition anymore, is absolutely huge. um do you consider sports shooting to be an important part of your identity or way of life? 96.1%. Like, you start talking about people's identities and way of life. You start removing that from people, it's not going to do much for their mental health or their physical health, are they? And this really shocked me. I ummed and ahed at it because it depends. Do I personally spend 10 grand a year on shooting? No, but that's because it's all a business expense. So why would I pay for it personally? And does the business spend £10,000 a year on shooting activities? Absolutely, we do. Because I do the books. So, but it just surprised me, the smallest proportion, right? So approximately how much do you spend on shooting activities a year? This should include everything from guns and ammo, club memberships, i.e. petrol you put in your car to the range, right? I mean, this also is a massive negative to the sport to say it ain't cheap, which, we do want to try and mitigate in some way. But literally the smallest proportion here is the smallest amount, right? So I don't even know what percentage that is, right? But if you're going out there and shooting, you can see the benefit of the to the economy, right? The biggest section there, 42%. And let's say this is representative of members. 42% of our members spend £2,000 to £5,000 a year. You take the middle of the road there, you're talking 3,500 times 40% of our membership. That's going to be 600 people. 600 people times 3,500. That I will get the calculator out for. 3,500 times 600 people. That's 2.1 million, right? Just 40% of our membership can attributes to 2.1 million pounds being put into the economy. These are the things that make a solid argument when going over the people that want to live in rainbow, unicorn, and fairyland, right? You know, you're going to increase people, you'll decrease people's activity, physical activity. You're going to decrease their socialization, right? Which is going to increase their health issues, both mentally and physically, which is going to increase the burden on the NHS, which is going to increase the the cost to the taxpayer and the government. And at the same time, they're going to do less shooting, they're going to spend less money. So not only are you increasing the costs for the taxpayer, you're going to decrease the income. That doesn't sound very sustainable in terms of business models. Decreasing your income and increasing your expenses is a very, very good way of going bust. So yeah, these are the arguments. So if you want to go through and read up and use this information, this is why this has been done. For the UK PSA, why Richard has spent so much time, because everything you need to be able to go and make a logical, factual, compelling argument against all these lead bans is provided to you here. So follow those links. You can you can find everything that you need. Let me have a quick oh yes, we oh yeah, I haven't said all stream. If you're liking, hit the like button, and make sure you are subscribed. I think that's probably the longest I've gone in a stream and not said that. So yeah, make sure you're all subscribed and liking. And if you want to support the channel, you can. Oh, I missed an opportunity there. We could have had the English Shooting Black Friday sale, couldn't we? Maybe there's still time. If you want to support the channel, well, the channel is pretty much exclusively funded by Magload, and it is our Black Friday sale this week. Well, it's been this whole week. It all ends, you can see flashing up there, at midnight tomorrow. So if you want to support, you can head over to Magload and have a look at any gadgets and gizmos that you might want to buy. And if you're interested in some English shooting merch, ka-ching, it's now on the magload.co.uk website. So you can go on there, pick up a Magload, an ES cap, just like I'm modeling for you all now. Nightmares are incoming. And if you're more of a Magload fan, there's plenty of Magload swag. If you want a Lucky Beards face sticker, you can go for that. And there's Magload caps and all sorts of stickers and goodies. But yeah, that's plug number 3 out of the way. YouTube likes to insert adverts, and I'm going to insert my own adverts as well. But I'm a little bit biased, so sue me. But a topic that I will end on this evening. This was actually sent to me by Arian, so thanks, Arian, for pinging this over. This is very, very interesting and incredibly smart. And I'm just going to get it out of the way. What I am about to show you is not UK legal. Don't even bother asking the question. It is not UK legal. I'll get into the nitty-gritty in a sec, but it's very, very interesting from a technical stance. I'm very interesting in terms of a legal aspect in the US of just how easy it is to sort of just get around various laws, right? But the active trigger system. Now, a little bit of preface, because I'm not going to show you the whole video, but they've designed effectively a forced reset trigger, right? So, sorry, a forced reset safety. Now, some of you may have heard about forced reset triggers, and it works in effectively the same way. And the whole premise of a forced reset is that when you, semi-automatic gun, you get 1 round for every pull of the trigger. So you pull the trigger, the bolt comes back, goes forth, loads another round, and then you've got to let the reset go to pull the trigger back. Well, what a force reset does is it automatically pushes the trigger into the position where you would be pulling it on the as soon as the bolt has engaged and is ready to fire again. So it ends up effectively simulating full auto fire. Um, so yes, force reset triggers, 100% illegal here in the UK, and this would be as well. But the really interesting thing about this is that it is all 3D printed, right? This whole thing of can't stop the signal and defense distributed and all of that, it's just it's just running away with itself at this point. You know, you've banned full autos, but you can have a semi-auto. Well, I'm just going to print myself actually it's a really clever, smart design, but it's actually relatively simple in terms of its application. So, you know, first of all, it's a push button safety. Um, so this is normal. He's showing it in normal fire here, but you'll see in a minute. Watch the trigger blade. It will force his trigger, his finger forward. So that's not him coming off of it. That's the trigger forcing it back into place. And all he's doing that. Well, there you go. There's the trigger running in fun mode, and he does some more. It's an interesting style that he's got. I have to admit, but you know that is a semi-auto gun with this force reset safety, right? The super safety they're calling it, but it's so minimalist, the design, right? Let me get up the parts. So obviously you've got your trigger. I don't know if there's any modifications needed to your trigger for this, but there's the safety bit. He said you have to make a slight modification to a D10, and then this printed lever, which is actually what transfers the force into the trigger to force reset it. So you're talking fairly simple, small components. And yeah, it's just a very neat idea, right? You know, I sort of for a second ignore the politics of it just for a second. It's just I can appreciate the design, the ingenuity here, and how he sort of innovated with this. And this is why it's just so hard to stay on top of firearms laws and gun control and all of this, because there are some incredibly talented smart, intelligent individuals over there. And we end up with things like the lever release with the Mars, and yes, they got banned, but in fairness, it took them a very long time to ban them. It's why we end up with the likes of people like Alan Westlake and the black powder revolvers and all of this. It's just long barrel pistols. We will find a way. But yeah, it's just an incredibly smart little thing. So yeah, very, very interested in that, just as a sort of engineering design point of view. But also, yeah, just when you switch on the political side of everything, it's just like, what is the point when people are able to not only just print their own guns at this point, but you're able to print something that's going to cost you 50p in material out of a 3D printer to put in your gun, and suddenly you've got a full auto. It's like, I don't think it's the people having full autos that's the problem, right? Because it's seemingly so easy to be able to do now. The reason why what hold the spicy video, what this is YouTube, it's on YouTube, it can't be that spicy. Oh, Daniel, you're a mod. Maybe you should ban me. It could you could try. But yeah, I just we talk about 3D printing and the likes of defense distributed like all the time. No, just I will get in the requirements. Like, I don't condone people breaking the law. I'm not incentivizing people or encouraging people to go in and do that if it's illegal in the country that you're in. If it's within the law, go and do it. Don't break the law. The reason, so this is where it gets really tricky and interesting in terms of UK law. There technically isn't anything within UK law that would make this illegal, because the semi-auto function, you are still manually pressing that trigger. It's still, from your force of pulling that trigger, so you're still getting 1 round per pull of the trigger, which is the definition of our semi-auto. But we have the good old catch-all of spirit of the law, right? It was like, for the longest time, bump fire stocks here within the UK weren't explicitly prohibited, right? There was no writing about them. They were technically legal. They have now changed that, and they're now specifically mentioned in law. So they are now illegal. But previously, there was nothing in law to prevent you from having one. However, we have spirit of the law. And certainly when it comes to firearm certificates and firearms ownership, because you have a certificate, even if they can't prosecute you and give you a criminal punishment, spirit of the law, I don't think you can be prosecuted under spirit of the law. I might be wrong with that. Don't quote me on it. But certainly they can revoke and refuse to issue you a firearm certificate because you have not kept within the spirit of the law, right? And that is, I think, the very best that would have ever have happened if you'd have gone and bought a bump fire stock, brought it here into the UK, and started using it down the range. Would you have ended up in prison? Probably not. Would you ever be able to hold a firearm certificate ever again? No, right? Because that's not the spirit of the law. The law is that anything full auto is Section 5. Trying to simulate semi-auto here in the UK, well, that's not in the spirit of things. Whether or not it's by the definition, the spirit of the law is that anything full auto or something that is simulating full auto is Section 5, just because it's not the black and white caveated. So you'd certainly get the FAC book thrown at you. The same thing with force reset triggers, the same thing with things like this special safety and force reset safety. Not technically against the law. Certainly if you had the components sat on your desk at home, like, you're not going to get thrown in jail for it. But you go out and use it on a range, your firearm certificate is not going to last very long, and I don't think you will ever be able to obtain any membership at any other club ever again. Yeah, I could just imagine some of the old boy clubs. You rocked up with one of those down the range. Half of them would have heart attacks. It's anyway. Daniel, we need a red flashing light. I have no issue. Like, what are we? What are we? Like, trying to censor ourselves. We can't talk about a force reset safety. Why? Hampshire can knock on my door right now. You're talking about force reset safeties. Yeah. Right. Like I talk about full auto. It's not a crime to talk about things that are illegal under our laws or not within the spirit of our laws. Not advocating for anybody to do it. I'm actively advising that people don't go and do this, because I want more people having firearms certificate and more people owning firearms here within the UK. And that would be, if every firearm certificate owner went out and got one of these, there probably wouldn't be very many firearm certificate holders left. So we don't want any of that, and I don't want any of you guys getting in trouble. But yes, that is the world we live in. That, talking about 3D printed guns and force reset safeties, I have to caveat that, I don't condone it, I don't endorse it, and I have no intention of doing anything outside of the laws or the authorities that I currently possess. So there we go. You can come knock on the door and have a word with me talking about it, and I'll happily talk to you. I genuinely think that's what happened with the police that came around last time when I talked about 3D printing guns. I genuinely think I bored them. I genuinely, like, they didn't know what they were in for. I had show and tell ready. I really should have filmed it. Two guys, uniform, come to talk, need to talk about you saying about you're going to 3D print a gun. Yes. Yes, I am. Okay, that's not the response that we were expecting. Why are you going to 3D print a gun? And I got this bag of stuff. It's in the unit now, but I got a bag of bits from Magload, dumped it on the um, dumped it on the table, and was like, this is a 3D printed safety. This is a 3D printed magazine extension. This is a 3D printed shotgun quad loading caddy. This is a 3D printed muzzle brake. And I'm like slowly like working. This is a 3D printed grip. This is a 3D printed stock. This is a 3D printed handguard. And I'm like, you can see here that we have slowly been working our way into all of the components of a working firearm. Don't you think it's a natural step that at some point we actually 3D print the gun? And they're sort of sat there like, yeah, but it's 3D printing. Like, what? It's bad. I'm like, would you have an issue if I said we were going to CNC machine a load of guns? He was like, no. So what's the difference? Like, it's just because it's 3D printed doesn't make it illegal. We are a registered firearms dealer. We can manufacture and produce our own guns, whether they're 3D printed, CNC'd, or glued together with a hot glue gun. That's really none of your concern. And anyway, nice. I even brought down my final year project, which was a 3D printed waveguide, and I just literally had this entire show and tell of 3D printed bits, and took them right back from the first time I used the 3D printer, right up to us getting various things delivered at the UNET, metal 3D printers, SLS printers, all of this, and they were like, "Oh, we really wish we hadn't asked now." But there we go. Yeah. If it's not illegal to talk about things that are illegal. It's only by talk. It's like, here's the thing. I'm doing a public service, because what if any of you had found this video and thought, that doesn't seem like a bad idea? Well, I'm helping to educate people that there are things that are just not a very good idea to do here if you want to legally own firearms. When you put it into perspective, to clueless people, clueless people, their reactions are priceless. Yeah, they are. It is ignorance, and I get it, right? I get it in the same way that when you start talking to people about firearms, to the general Joe public, they instantly thinking about negative stuff, right? Because for the majority of people, certainly in the UK, their exposure to guns is on the TV, right? It's in the news, it's in films, and guns are pretty much exclusively used in bad ways in films and on the news, right? And it's only when you sit down and you sort of peel back the curtain and go like, here's all this really amazing, legal, safe, enjoyable, nice stuff that you can go and do with guns, that they sort of go, right, that's actually, yeah, all right, I get it. And it's the same things with like stuff like the 3D printing firearms. If you say to somebody 3D printed guns, they're instantly going to think of like some nutter in a basement somewhere making untraceable illegal firearms to go and do God knows what with, right? It's, the whole thing about 3D printing firearms has been about rebellion. It's been about can't stop the signal, can't, sticking two fingers up to whomever, right? My interest in 3D printing, like, there's this interest in following that aspect, because I think 3D printing is going to have massive connotations to our laws and our legal systems when it comes to firearms. We're already seeing the effects of that, so of course I'm interested in following it from that perspective. But my final year project of my degree was in 3D printing. Like, I have an inherent professional interest in rapid prototyping, 3D printing, additive manufacturing. I co-run a company that specializes in using additive manufacturing to make products that are used by some of the best shooters in the world, right? My interest in 3D printing and 3D printed firearms is fairly valid and vindicated. I have no intention of going and, you know, climbing down into my basement and start printing God knows what in it. It's about the professional interest. What can we learn from it? What can we do with it? What products can be made from it? And, you know, what can be sold out of it? So anyway, there we go. I do just get bored of sort of having to explain it, especially to the likes of like Daniel. You know, I'm more than capable of navigating my way around difficult subjects at this point. As long as we don't talk about Paris, I should be fine. Anyway, on that note, I think I am going to call it a night there. Before you all go, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. Thank you for joining once again. Apologies for the ads will run for some viewers. Nope, no, it won't. Denied. That's right, YouTube. I am now in charge. So, yeah, thanks all for joining. Apologies for the last couple of weeks, but as I've said, Maglo, Black Friday, long days, lots and lots of work. Sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not. It's genuinely. It's actually our like one of our funnest periods of the year. It is just, again, going back to that sort of that blissfulness. We're literally so busy we don't have any time to think about anything else. So, you know, in a way, there's a little bit of bliss in that. But yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic week. I will check my calendar. Check my calendar before I commit to going on and saying I hate the new Google Calendar. What is going on? Yes, free on Thursday. So yeah, go and put that in your diary for next week. We'll be here, same place, same time. I'll be less tired, less Black Friday'd. And again, if you need to pick up some really cool 3D printed, legal, practical shooting products, then head over to maglo.co.uk. We are currently in our Black Friday sale, 50% up to 50% off, whole range of products. And it all ends midnight tomorrow. So don't hang about. But there we go. Again, huge thanks, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic week. And of course, as always, hope to see you soon.